Hello Year 7s, so today we are going to draw our David Hockney piece of work and we're going to draw into our A4. So first thing I want you to do is go ahead and divide your piece of work in 4 parts. So I want you to fold your piece of paper without folding it in the middle. I just only want you to pinch the top. Make sure the corners are meeting and you pinch the top. And when you move on, just mark this little section. That will get you a perfect middle, and I'd like you to do the same thing on the bottom as well. Make sure you mark it off, otherwise you won't be able to see the crease. But this way you don't get a crease. Make sure there's not a crease all the way down. I want you to do the same thing and divide your page up with the middle here. Just make sure you only pinch the corner. Don't go anywhere further, just so that it doesn't crease your paper too much and leave it looking rough. We don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that as well. And then as soon as you're done, go ahead. You can make this dark or as light as you like. Because I want the sections to look very prominent, I'm going to do it dark. I want it to look dark. Okay. The reason we're doing it very nice and dark, because in 4 sections, we are going to demonstrate 4 different mediums. And those 4 different mediums will be as follows. So we've got biro, we'll be doing watercolors here, and I'll explain that later. And we're going to do pencil colors and then color pencils as well. So that's what I'm going to do. Go ahead and start drawing that. Before I draw it, I need to do the same thing to my paper. So I'm going to fold it. This one, you can crease it all the way if you like. And then fold it again. Make sure you get a nice crease. The best way to do it is make sure the corners are meeting. If the corners are meeting, then it's perfectly aligned. That's fine. I'm going to move this aside, your paper aside when you do your creases so that it doesn't dent onto your paper. And I'm going to go ahead and just divide your... Once that's done, it should be nice and near and nice and clear for you to see where you need to make your reference points. And then I'm going to go ahead and start marking off the biggest shape. Now we've practiced this enough, so I want you to take your just take the guidelines that we've given you before and just go ahead and start sketching this right away. So I'm going to go ahead, start sketching this nice and light, nice and feathery, never too dark. Look how I'm holding my pencil further away, and I'm doing very gentle mark makings here. I want this to kind of go up until this point, and I'm just going to map it out. Now if it's hard for you to see, I'm just going to make it a little bit more clear, and I'm going to go ahead and make it dull so you can see some of the marks as well. And then I'm going to go ahead, I see on this line, this little right angle, that the line is somewhere here that leaves this blue section in a triangle. So I'm going to leave the similar looking triangle, even though it's bigger, over here as well. And then I'm just going to follow that somewhere down here and how low I want it to be. Then I'm going to go ahead and sketch that out. If I make a mistake, that's fine. This is really good for me to start guessing where all my shapes need to go, and I'm going to figure it out, it's okay. And I'm going to look at this little section here, and on the line, it's somewhere here. On this line, it's somewhere here. So that's where it's going to go. Then I need to figure out how high I want it and how low I want it. And I'm going to go ahead and do my proportions. Now if you're not sure, you can always just fold your piece of work, fold it again, so you're not distracted. You can just look at one section at a time, and it really helps. And just have that next to you so you can see on that page, halfway on this page, is not, slightly below halfway is where the top of that little curve is going to be. So if I go ahead and do the same thing, I can go ahead and draw that line. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw my curve for the shape. And as I do that, I'm going to figure out the distance between the top and the bottom there, the top and the bottom here. And I'm going to go ahead and draw that out as well. And as I start to sculpt that in, I'm going to connect it to this line here, roughly. If you're not sure, it's getting confusing, just open it up and just have a look so you know where everything is kind of getting aligned. This is fine. I do need this to be a little bit more curvy, so if you make a mistake, rub it out. Keep a rubber with you on hand so that you can keep making these mistakes. and you can rub it out as you figure your shape out. That's fine, that's perfectly fine. Make sure your larger shape is very accurate so that all the other shapes around it can form as well. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of increase that. I want to make it slightly bigger because I know the reason I want to make it bigger because I'm not considering the space here. So if I go ahead and make it larger and figure out the space between here and here is something somewhat here, I can figure out my shape. So as I'm doing that, just start sketching, figuring out where everything needs to go. This little curve is going to be here, and I need this to kind of flow quite straight and then curve. So straight and then curve. And then look at the rest of the shape as well and start forming those marks in the right places. Now I'm quite happy with this mark, the shape so far, but I have to neaten it. So please get a proper rubber. Get a proper rubber and make sure that you're using not the back of your pencil, but rather a rubber itself so that you're not smudging any of those pencil marks, because with this it will tend to smudge, so I don't want to do that. I'm going to do that as well, neaten up my lines with a singular line here, and I'm going to go ahead and just draw my first shape. Now once you've done this, this is where the fun stuff happens. You can keep correcting it. I'm going to skim through very quickly. Make sure your pencil mark is still light, don't make it dark. We do not want dark, harsh lines anywhere, so make sure it stays nice and neat. And you don't go over it too harshly or too dark either. Just draw any lines that you've kind of rubbed out if you need them, and it's nice and neat. So I'm going to leave that now, and then I'm going to go ahead and draw the fun, easy lines. Why? Because I want this drawing to be, I want it to be done quickly, but have fun while I'm doing it. Now I see the double line behind this this shape, so I'm just going to go ahead and draw that around it, and just kind of using the contour of this line, this shape, and I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. If I open up my line, my reference image, sorry, I can see where everything needs to go. Now there's another line here, so I'm just going to draw that line as I see the curve. If you make a mistake, guys, just rub it out, and if you want it a little bit more accurate, you can go ahead and do that. Now there's a white space in between it, so I'm going to double that up. And if I follow this all the way down, I'm just going to go ahead and mark the bottom off there as well, just so that I know where everything needs to go. So I'm going to use the bottom and draw this little line, this little shape. Nice and simple. Most of our shape is going to be very basic forms, so just try to keep the pencil pressure light while you start to form those shapes. Now above the line is where I need it to curve, somewhere here. So I'm just going to go ahead, keep a distance from here, and draw this line all the way down to here. That's as far as I want it. So I'm just going to go ahead, make some reference lines, and once you're happy with those, you can go ahead and draw those out as well. So I'm going to just draw them very lightly, sketch it, but single lines only. If there's too many lines, it will start to look messy. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw that out. Quite happy with that, but there's a double white line there. I'm just going to go ahead and do this outwards, and I'm done. And then I'm going to look at a different part of my drawing where I can start drawing the rest of it, just to make it a little bit more easy. I'm just going to see this point, which is somewhere here, and I need this to kind of go to this point. When I've drawn this, this is fine, and then I'm going to draw this little shape out as I like. So keep making references and go back and forth. And I'm just going to see where I need it to go first before I start drawing it. I want it to go somewhat to this point, and before I draw the inside, it's important that I know how far it's going to go. So I'm going to start drawing the top of that line now. Now I'm going to trace this out, track this down, put reference points, and I know I need this to go as far as here. So once you do your connect the dots, once you're happy with your connect the dots as well, you can go ahead and draw this out, which is great. Once you've done that, you can just figure out the distance between that and this, and then do the same thing with the inside as well, the innie. And I'm just going to go ahead and do just that. Okay, quite happy with that. And then all I'm going to do now is kind of track this line all the way to the bottom. So I'm just picking parts that is going to make it easier. I want this to go to here, so I can just kind of have a freestyle line kind of flowing and flowing down. Before I flow this line down, I need to mark off the rest of the shape of the bottom, so that my bottom is marked off and I know where everything needs to go. And I'm just going to go ahead and do just that. So before I start drawing the rest of this, I'm just going to go ahead and see how far I want that line to go. So I think I want it to go here, so I'm going to keep it extremely light because I might have to rub that out. That's fine. Then I want to draw my triangle, this little boat, bit of a triangle, but it's more of a boat. So I'm going to mark off this point, how low I want it to go, and how far I need it to extend, and also the distance between here, the bottom and the top, and I want it to go somewhat here. And I'm going to go ahead and draw that in. Yep. Oh, I conveniently drew two lines there, and there's too many lines here. That double line can play that little orange section, that highlighted orange section above, just to add some dimension. I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Rub that line up carefully, and just change my shape up if I need to. Quite happy with that. These double lines at the bottom, I'm going to smooth it out with just a singular, nice and light, and I'm quite happy with that so far. It's okay. So this line can connect into this little triangle, but I'm going to finish this shape first. If your shapes are too big or too small, you can correct them or just leave them as they are. As long as you've got the basic shapes and elements and you're quite happy with it, then you can go ahead. You don't have to have it very, very perfect. It's okay if it's slightly different as well. So now I'm going to draw this line all the way to this line. So all I'm going to do is just draw it a little bit free. Look how far I'm holding my pencil, and all I'm going to do is now swing it. I'm going to do it light, and when I'm happy, I'm going to go ahead and make it a little bit darker. And when I'm happy with that. That's fine, I'm quite happy with that. Now I'm going to do the other separate line coming from the bottom there. So I'm going to draw this line all the way to the bottom and see where that connects as well. Alright, so I'm going to connect that line all the way to this point, and that's in between this cross here. So looking at this cross, I think I want it here. So all I'm going to do is go ahead and draw that out as well. And then this has to go slightly further out to this point. Everyone's cutout might be slightly different. If yours is slightly different, that's okay. Just work with the ones that you're working with and just follow those proportions, okay? So your reference points might be slightly different than the person next to you, but that's okay. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to rub this line out as well and go ahead and draw that. Now I want to draw the outside of the circle, this egg shape, before I do the inside. So I need to map out how far I want these to go. So just working with the inside circle, how far I want everything to go. So then I'm going to go ahead and sketch it very lightly so that I know where the dark orange is going to go. And just kind of follow the lines and follow what I can see. Keep looking at my reference image and go ahead and draw that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and draw that. And then I'm going to draw the lines underneath it. I want this to be slightly more curvy, so I will drop that out. And I'm going to just go ahead and draw the line below it as well. So that is now the blue. Where do I want the blue to go? And I want the blue to kind of come right underneath, like a real egg shape. Now, I've got these little shadows here. I don't want that, and I'll tell you why we don't want those right now. We want nice clear shapes to start adding our shadings to later. And that's all we're going to do. I'm just going to connect this all the way to this point. I'm going to rub this line out. And I'm going to connect this line now to this to connect here. Actually, this does not connect there, it connects here. So once I've done that, I'm going to mark it off here. And then all I'm going to do is just draw this little wave. Once I've done this, I'm going to rub this line out as well. Connect this line to this point. And I'm going to rub this out and go ahead and just redraw it nice and neat with a single line. And then get this line to kind of curve into the same wave as well. It's okay. From this point, I just need to connect it here so I can have as much fun. Now I'm going to draw a straight line because it's definitely not straight. It's not a straight line at all. It is, however, slightly curvy. So just draw your lines by looking at your reference as much as possible. And you kind of get used to where things need to go as well. I'm quite happy with this outline so far, and that took me, what, 15, 16 minutes? I'm now going to move on to the second part, which is to start adding the shading, which is what I'd like you guys to finish this week.